cue the music. You know him as your fallen champion. You know him as the bringer of death. He is Arthas Menethil, the Lich King. Yes, and Platinum WoW has made a video about the downfall of Arthas Menethil. Now, I would argue this is the rise of Arthas Menethil. If this is about the purging of the culling of Stratholme and everything, Arthas did nothing wrong. He was doing his best to do the right thing. Yeah, Platinum WoW is MVP, no doubt. I am very excited for this video. I'm warning you all. Easy on the comments in the chat because I'm very sensitive to any comments about Arthas Menethil. And by the way, the downfall of Arthas Menethil, I think, could easily be a Netflix series. But here we go. Let's check out the downfall, or should I say the rise, of Arthas Menethil. Here we go.
Arthas Menethil is by far the most famous character in Warcraft history. His cinematic is one of the most iconic pieces of Warcraft media. His expansion was the peak of WoW's popularity, there's an endless amount of Lich King-related merchandise. His popularity can be attributed to him being a core part of Warcraft's story since Warcraft 3, and the progression of his character is filled with twists and turns that the average WoW player probably doesn't know about.
Noobs.
Arthas was born 4 years before the Orcs entered Azeroth. His father was Lordaeron Menethil, making him the prince. And since he was the prince, he got to hang out with a surprising amount of familiar faces. He learned the ways of battle from Muradin Bronzebeard. He sparred with Varian Wrynn, future king of Stormwind.
FYI, Varian used to win these fights a lot. If you read the lore about it, Varian used to win all the time.
And learned the ways of the light from his mentor, Uther, not a serious crush on Jaina Proudmoore. One of the most impactful experiences in Arthas' young life was training his horse, Invincible.
Oh yeah.
Over a decade, Arthas would grow up alongside his steed, until one fateful evening when Arthas was just far too reckless when venturing with his steed. Arthas ventured into the raging snowstorm that blanketed his kingdom, ignorant to the fact of how dangerous this could actually be.
Hurry! You must jump over this bank, Invincible!
Why?
Invincible's front legs were shattered, leaving the two stranded in the snowstorm. Arthas' own recklessness had led to his closest companion mortally wounded. The young prince revealed a blade, driving it into his steed's heart to give him a peaceful death.
And thus creating one of the coolest mounts in the game, to this day.
Arthas never told anyone what happened on that fateful night, but it would mold him into the man he would become. He made a vow to himself to protect others, no matter the cost.
Rip Invincible until I loot your ass.
I once had a horse named Invincible. Turns out he wasn't.
At age 19, Arthas joined the Knights of the Silver Hand, an elite group of paladins. He then lived in Dalaran for a while, flirting with Jaina, which made Kel'Thas Sunstrider mad, and this whole section of lore is on some Twilight love triangle bullshit.
Oh, he was doing much more than flirting with Jaina. That's right. He was showing her his Frostmourne.
Then went to Zul'Aman to help kill some forest trolls, which is only briefly stated in the Warcraft 3 manual, because every story in Warcraft needs to have at least one instance of trolls losing. We then transition to the lore that is depicted in Warcraft 3, where Arthas kills some orcs, which is just the tutorial, and then the real threat emerges. The Plague of Undeath, an infectious disease spread by the necromantic-worshipping cult of the Damned, has wreaked havoc across Arthas' kingdom. There is a report that the town of Brill was stricken with the plague, so Arthas and Jaina investigated the disturbance.
The cult of the damned has already ravaged your lands, Prince. This is only the beginning.
Let's go. Hold aggro.
Kil'Thuzad, master necromancer and leader of the cult of the damned, fled to Anderhall. So Arthas and Jaina pursued him, but alas, they were too late.
You're too late, foolish prince. Grain infected by the plague of undeath has already been shipped
Kel'Thuzad's got to be one of the most killed characters in the game. I feel like we've killed him 10 times. This guy, we literally chased him into the afterlife, into the Shadowlands, and killed him again.
Across your kingdom, it is only a matter of time
What a
before your
chump.
citizens are transformed into mindless undead. My master, Mal'Ganis, has already infiltrated the city of Stratholme. The Scourge shall bring your kingdom to...
First of many deaths.
Arthas and Jaina quickly ventured to Stratholme in a desperate attempt to warn the citizens about the infected grain. Along the way, Arthas' mentor Uther joined them. And when they arrived, they discovered that they were already too late. The citizens were infected. What happens next is one of the most defining events in Arthas' downfall, which is depicted in an infamous cutscene, where he declares the entire city must be purged for the greater good.
That is right.
Including the civilians. Now, I've talked about the culling of Stratholme cutscene before, like 4 years ago, when I hired a bunch of actors on Fiverr to recreate the cutscene. So, I'm just gonna do it again.
Oh.
How's it going there? Real life Peter Griffin here.
Chocolate rain.
Oh my god, Chocolate Rain? I haven't seen this in forever.
Hello, Uther. I'm Mr. Beast. First of all, you are wrong! The city needs to be purged.
Listen here, you bastard. You better stop disobeying the Order of the Knights of the Silver Hand.
What the hell?
Tyrion Fordrain's gonna have to come out of retirement and kick your ass all the way back to Lordaeron.
Okay? And if you disagree, get out of Arthas.
I mean, you're breaking Lady Jane.
Wait a minute, how much did he pay these guys? The other guy's stumbling over his lines.
The Proudmore's heart, and that's what grinds my gears.
Arthas. I can't watch you do this.
But your mama.
Shut up, Arthas.
You are a paladin, Prince of Lordaeron, and you are reckless!
But your mama.
Jesus. Yep, let the purge begin.
Arthas rampaged through the city, killing zombies and innocent civilians.
If you've paid the culling of Stratholme, you've participated in this purge. Congratulations, you are part of one of the greatest events in World of Warcraft history.
Alike, ensuring the plague could not spread further. The morality of Arthas' actions on this fateful day are still debated to this day. Actions which were motivated by the oath he made after the death of Invincible. And because he was also just an arrogant, young, strong-headed dude. In the courtyard of the city, Arthas finally met face-to-face with Mal'Ganis, the Nathrezim responsible for this atrocity.
I have been waiting for you, young prince.
Mal'Ganis, you will pay for what you did to my people.
Mal'Ganis then told
He's
Arthas...
still calling them my people, by the way. Even though he's bludgeoned their heads in with his hammer at this point. But they were his people. He loved them. And he was just trying to do what he thought was best. He's a good man.
to follow him to Northrend if he wished to get his revenge.
I will follow you to the ends of the earth if I have to! Do you hear me? To the ends of the earth!
In order to ensure that the
hell?
plague could not continue to spread, Arthas set fire to the city of Stratholme, and these cursed fires still burn to this day, billowing with tortured souls massacred during the culling of Stratholme.
Too bad.
The Prince of Lordaeron then went rogue, taking a detachment of soldiers and traveling to the frozen wasteland of Northrend. Wait, hold on. Is that the French Richelieu-class battleship, the Jean Bart, installed with 6 Indrit solar boilers, 4 Parson-geared turbines, 17 artillery guns used by the French during World War II after the battle for France? The sponsor of today's video is World of Warships, a free-to-play game for PC where you battle against other ships in epic 12v12 arenas. New content is released every month for this game, like ships, cosmetics, and fresh gameplay experiences. There are 40 unique maps, all with dynamic weather and stunning water effects that you can sail
Henry Cavill
across
as Arthas
with a
is the
wide
greatest
variety of
request
battleships. like destroyers,
of all time.
cruisers, submarines, and aircraft
Now that he's not the Witcher, maybe he
you
can
can
do
join
it.
the awesome in-game player base who are just as passionate about warships as you are. And oh yeah, did I mention the game is also available on consoles? Download the game for free, and this month only, you can go to battle as anime girl-themed boats from Azure Lane and show off your favorite characters.
Is there nothing that is unsimpable these days? Why does simping have to be in everything? Are you serious? Anime warships? Big old titties everywhere on a warship? My God.
From the new Azure Lane themed skins.
Next thing we're going to see is Catgirl warships.
Use promo code Azure555
Nothing is
to
safe,
receive a
boys.
huge
Nothing
starter
is
pack,
safe.
including all of these items and currency. Again, use code Azure555. Thank you to World of Warships for sponsoring this video. Back to the story. Arthas was now in Northrend to hunt down the Dreadlord. This was obviously blatantly reckless. The more logical thing to do would be to help rebuild his kingdom after it was rocked by the plague, but Arthas was just blind with vengeance. When the prince and his men reached Northrend, they bumped into his old friend, Myrddin Bronzebeard, and his group of dwarven adventurers. They were looking for a fabled blade called Frostmourne, told to grant untold power. Together, Arthas and Myrddin explored Northrend, killing undead and
Probably
searching
the most
for
badass
blade
weapon in
and
the game ever.
Mal'Ganis. Soon after, an emissary from
Not probably. Frostmourne is the coolest weapon in the game. I'd say Frostmourne and Ashbringer are the two most badass weapons to ever be in the game.
Lordaeron showed up, conveying a demand from Uther and Tyrannus Menethil that Arthas and his men should return to Lordaeron at once.
And I don't care what Mal'Ganis did. What you did to the people in Stratholme is unacceptable.
Now, the soldiers the prince brought were totally on board. Truthfully, they were just here following orders, and they didn't hold the same vengeance in their hearts like Arthas. They had families they wanted to return to and didn't want to just hang out in the snow all day. Oh yeah, also the entire continent is covered in zombies. But before they could board their ships to return home, Arthas hired a bunch of mercenaries, had them
Didn't he
burn
leave his hammer in the cave where he found Frostmourne?
down their only way back home, and then he killed all the mercenaries in order to cover up his atrocity, leaving his men now stranded in Northrend, and Arthas intended on keeping it that way until Mal'Ganis was defeated.
Okay, I think I got it. So I think if I follow this quest tracker, we should be able to find Frostmourne. And maybe even that damn Dreadlord Mal'Ganis.
It's just a quest item.
Then Arthas
Here it
and
is.
Myrddin continued their hunt.
Played
In their
through this.
ventures, they stumbled upon the Blade of Legend. Upon closer inspection, Myrddin read the runes of the blade, which explained that the weapon was cursed. He begged Arthas not to claim the blade. Myrddin had seen his renegade behavior and knew he'd succumb to such a cursed weapon. But Arthas craved
Let's be honest with ourselves here. Arthas did what we all would have done. Imagine you find a sword, a glowing sword, encased in ice, perched atop a badass stand. Okay, you click on the sword and you realize this sword is like 500 eye level higher than anything in the game. And you know that if you equip this sword, you will be the most powerful character in the entirety of the World of Warcraft. You're not going to fucking equip that sword. You're going to really tell me that you're going to listen to some dwarf telling you leave the sword alone? The fuck out of here. You're going to equip that shit so quickly. Bind to your soul on equip. You don't give a shit. You're clicking it anyways.
Sacrifice anything to help avenge his people, even if it meant wielding such a wicked blade like Frostmourne.
This is mine now. Yoink!
That's right. He didn't slash roll or anything. He just took it.
Lend me your aid! Myrddin, are you alright?
Myrddin was stabbed with a shard of ice as the cursed blade freed itself from its imprisonment. Arthas rushed to help, but the wicked blade called for his name.
The loot is waiting. There's the hammer. This is how legends are made, boys.
The moment Arthas touched the blade, he became the first Death Knight of the Lich King.
Wow.
At this time, the leader of the Scourge was
What
an
a moment.
amalgamation of enchanted armor atop the frozen throne, imbued with the spirit of the Orcish warlock Ner'zhul. This was a pivotal moment in Arthas' descent into villainy, and over time, he would not be the virtuous, fiery-hearted prince of Lordaeron his kingdom had known.
Morning, baby J.
He would fall into an evil, resentful Death Knight of the Lich King, whose goal would be to spread his
That's right.
master's plight.
He class changed to the right class.
Muradin was left for dead in the Frostmourne Cave, a location that players can visit in Dragonblight and discover the discarded weapons of
Yep,
Arthas
hammer's
and
still
the
there.
dwarf. But, oh yeah, also Muradin isn't actually dead. Somehow, he survived. You can find him over in the Storm Peaks.
The hell? Why?
Okay, moving on. Now, before anything, Arthas needed to fulfill his purpose for
shake a
coming to
retcon?
Northrend in the first place.
The Dark Lord told me you would come. Your deeds at Stratholme were inspiring.
Mal'Ganis.
So, you've taken up Frostmourne at the cost of your soul.
That's right.
Just as the Dark Lord said you would.
Save your breath, Mal'Ganis. I heed only Frostmourne now.
So you're telling me, is he, when he says Dark Lord, please tell me he's not referring to Zoval. Probably not. Because I don't think the Dreadlords answered to Zoval. They kind of just let his plan come to fruition or helped it. Yeah, Frostmourne hungers indeed.
Nothing will prevent me from having my revenge, demon.
No,
You hear the
don't tell me.
voice
Talk
of the
about
Lich
it.
King. His power flows through that blade and you.
I can feel him whisper to me now. Frostmourne. It hungers for blood.
What does the Dark Lord say?
Lord
He
Denathrius.
tells me
Yeah.
the time for my vengeance has come.
What? He can't possibly mean to.
It is finished.
Fucked him up.
Shortly after slaying the Dreadlord, Arthas outfitted himself with a suit of Serenite armor, and from the thick blizzard of the frozen waste, the corrupted Prince of Lordaeron slayed his own
Mal'Ganis
men
got
so
sent
that they
along.
could serve him in death once again. Two of his most fearsome soldiers, Falric and Marwyn, were raised into undeath, and later on the
Oh,
player
I didn't. Wait a minute. I didn't know that was the case. Farrick and Marwyn were two soldiers that came to Northrend with Arthas. Wow,
would
damn.
fight them in the Halls of Reflection dungeon.
Yeah, Halls of Reflection.
Months later, Arthas would return to Lordaeron. The city celebrated, welcoming back their beloved prince with joyous
That's
merriment, totally ignoring the fact that he and his soldiers were walking around in emo death armor covered in skulls. Arthas drew his blade and delivered his betrayal.
What are you doing, my son? Succeeding you, father.
This is fucking storytelling right here. This is World of Warcraft storytelling, man. Should I say Warcraft, because this is a cinematic from Warcraft. This is the storytelling that we miss. Men being men, stabbing each other, bleeding their cocks out all over the floor. Now we get dragon tails, you know, holding hands. Let's ignite our beams together. And you know, be friends. Be friends, restore the friendship. Yeah, these cutscenes, this is what I'm talking about. Big dick events. Glittering Surge, yeah, that's right. Yeah, now we have bosses that do glittering surges. Jesus.
This kingdom shall fall, and from the ashes shall arise a new order that will shake the very foundations of the world.
Badassery.
The paranormal remnants of the death of King Tyrannus Menethil can still be heard
Yeah,
when
you can
players
hear this-
venture to the
this scene
former
play
throne
out.
room of Lordaeron. If you turn up your ambient volume, you can hear the reverberating traces of this wicked event.
Yeah, crowds cheering. Succeeded. Badass.
Soon after his father's death, Arthas set in
World
motion
of
an
Warcraft
entire
friendship
Scourge
forever.
invasion across his kingdom. Doing so was trivial. The kingdom was still reeling from the former Scourge invasion. This was just their death knell. And while the massacre commenced, Arthas ventured to the grave of his former steed,
Yes.
and used his newly acquired
Time to create the
necromantic
greatest
magic
mount.
to bring Invincible to life once again. As the slaughter continued across the kingdom, the commanding boom of the Lich King thrummed through Arthas' mind. His master demanded him to recover the corpse of the fallen necromancer, Kel'Thuzad. He was to be resurrected.
Time to
as
res
his
him so we
knowledge
can
of
kill
the
him again.
dark art would be critical in the Lich King's efforts. At the entrance of the crypt which stored the necromancer's body, Gavinrad the Dire, the paladin who granted Arthas his hammer when he joined the Knights of the Silver Hand, stood
Oh,
at the
I don't know this part of the
entrance.
story.
Stop this madness!
Arthas collected the remains of the necromancer and was informed that in order to resurrect a powerful being such as him, it required a powerful font of power, like a sunwell located in Quel'Thalas.
Time to fuck over the high
In order to
elves.
transport the remains, he would need a special urn, specifically the urn that held his father's ashes. I feel like you could just use a cardboard box for that, but
No.
the problem was, the man
be
who
epic.
held that special urn was Uther, the Lightbringer, Arthas' former teacher.
Arthas, what have you done? Binding the lives of the innocent? Reanimating monstrosities?
That's right.
Evil has truly consumed you.
Death Knight versus Paladin. Fight.
I will not let you defile these lands.
You will know endless torment.
Spare me your meaningless threats. This dark magic will lead the world to ruin, Arthas. Your father ruled this land for decades.
Even Uther was so much more badass. In Shadowlands, he was all like emo and fucking my soul has been split. You know, I got one nut over here, the other nut over here. I'm a divided sack. I don't know how to handle anything. I'm vengeful. That's bullshit, man. This Uther, this was the embodiment of what a paladin should be. Pure light. He's seeking justice through fucking any means. You know, coming out with the wrath. Justice for all by the light. That was his way.
And you've ground it to dust in a matter of days.
Very dramatic, Uther. I'll make sure you die quickly.
Men being men, that's what this shit used to be. This is what it was about. Trash talking before they go fisticuffs with their weapons and shove it into each other's chests.
Frostmourne hungers.
Clipping. Classic one. Let's go.
I dearly hope there's a special place in hell waiting for you, Arthas.
And we're gonna
We
get him.
may never know. I intend to live forever.
That's right. Badass.
Strange. I thought I would feel something at a moment like this. Maybe I am. Perhaps depressed.
Nah.
Shortly after obtaining the urn, Arthas dashed his father's remains into the air, which then swarmed around him and started choking him and stinging his eyes. Yeah, somehow this
Really?
detail gets left out during this badass chapter of the story. Now Arthas continued his mission and ventured with his Scourge army to Quel'Thalas
it's just
to
10
wreak the
minutes.
same havoc to the Elven Kingdom as he did his own.
Oh shit. Yeah, the elves are fucked.
Arthas and his Scourge ravaged the lands with untold brutality, and were met by a counterattack from Ranger General Sylvanas Windrunner. But her final stand would be futile against the might of the Scourge.
Warriors of Silvermoon, defend the city! Show them the true strength of Quel'Thalas!
Unholy death has come to your land, Ranger.
Silence, Prince.
See, even the women were badass back then. A little bit of talk, and now it's time to go fisticuffs.
Quel'Thalas will never fall to your corruption.
This ranger is beginning to vex me greatly.
Basically, he wants to fuck her.
Finish it. I deserve a clean death.
After all you've put me through, the last thing I'll give you is the peace of death.
No, you wouldn't dare.
Yep. Get fucked.
Arthas transformed the Ranger General into a Banshee, and by his command, she was forced to slay her own people. By the end of the conflict, 90% of the elven population was slaughtered. Their king was murdered,
Destroyed.
and the necromancer Kel'Thuzad was transformed into a Lich.
You called?
He's just a lootable body.
Now
That's
Arthas
what
and
he becomes.
Kel'Thuzad were best bros, both working towards the same goals. Kel'Thuzad explained that the Scourge was actually a creation of the demonic legion. The purpose of the Lich King was to hinder the defenses of the planet so that the Legion could come in and deliver the final killing blow to all the mortals on Azeroth. That's all the Scourge was, a tool for a higher power. But in time, this would change. The Lich King made sure of it. But for now, Arthas and Kel'Thuzad assisted their demonic rulers. The duo helped in summoning Archimonde onto Azeroth, who then destroyed the city of Dalaran. During the Third War, the Legion invaded Kalimdor. Arthas would command the Scourge to secretly disobey their demonic rulers. And he also discovered the Night Elf, Illidan Stormrage. He manipulated the renegade elf, teaching him how to use the powers of the Skull of Gul'dan, which empowered him so that he could destroy the Fel Lord Tychondrius, a decision which would ultimately have detrimental consequences.
See, he wasn't completely controlled. I mean, he was being controlled, but the way he used the Scourge to fight the Legion is interesting.
Future. Arthas' attempt to undermine the Legion's efforts would prove successful, and they lost the Third War. At this point, the Scourge fully
Basically,
broke away
Sylvanas
from
did
the
nothing
Legion,
wrong, kind of, yeah.
weakening the power of the Lich King and attracting the ire of their demonic masters. And
The part of Sylvanas' story where she becomes super emo is after the Lich King dies. That's supposedly where the change happens, when she throws herself off the top of the tower onto the Serenite, dies, and then I guess the Whispers of Zoval enter her asshole. And, you know, that's the start of Shadowlands, essentially.
process. When Arthas returned to Lordaeron, the Dreadlords, Rogue Undead, and Sylvanas, who now had free will because of the Lich King's weakening powers, were waiting for him. Arthas was forced to flee.
This is WoW. Look at that. Give my regards to hell, you son of a bitch. That's a fucking line right there.
Arthas was forced to flee, as once again, the Lich King's voice dominated his mind. He warned him that demonic servants were heading straight towards the frozen throne to destroy him. It was Illidan and his forces. The Demon Hunter was under the command of the Legion's demonic overlord, who demanded they destroy the rogue Lich King. Arthas hurried to Northrend once again. There, he found a new Barak and his Nerubians. He fought Illidan's minions, like the Elves of Quel'Thalas and the Naga, both of which were no match for the might of the Scourge, even in their weakened state. Arthas was just minutes away from the frozen throne, until he ran into the Demon Hunter, Illidan, and the two dueled each other in one of the most iconic moments in Warcraft history.
Demon Hunter versus Death Knight. We already saw Death Knight versus Paladin. Now we're seeing Demon Hunter versus Death Knight. Get ready to watch the big cock of a Death Knight get laid on the table again.
Here we go.
The hell is
this?
this?
The grapple. Oh my god. He's just jumped right into it. No, don't do it, Arthas. Oh my god. Illidan coming in with a vengeful retreat. Oh, here it comes. Oh! 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, Arthas, don't do it. Don't do it. The Scourge drop. Don't do it. Here it comes. Oh my god.
This is the closing cinematic for Warcraft.
Whoa. What the hell? I don't even know who got hurt there. That was incredible. Here it comes. Here comes the opponent.
This is the Warcraft Reforged cinematic. This is the official one. I don't know why people had a problem with Reforged. Looks great.
Throwdown. He's gonna do it. He's gonna do it. Please. Illidan has a family. Oh God.
Here it is. 1, 2, 3. Arthas.
Yep.
The winner. The Scourge prevails. Everyone.
Cinematic Reforged. There you go. That's great. Yeah, they did censor out a lot of the stuff. You guys remember there was a cinematic cutscene where Garrosh called Sylvanas a bitch? Yeah, that doesn't exist anymore.
Welcome, your new
World of Friendcraft,
Lich
boys.
King.
He really displayed his prowess in victory.
Arthas won the battle, winning the championship belt and being the strongest edgelord in all of Warcraft.
Ascend to your throne.
And he marched up to the frozen throne, shattered the ice, entombing his master, and donned his iconic armor.
Yes.
We are one.
The most epic helm in the fucking game. Now known as the Crown of Wills. My god, Shadowlands really fucked shit up. This, the Helm of Domination, is now a dinky little princess crown known as the Crown of Wills. My god. There's only one. The Helm of Domination is all that
the Wrath of the
exists
Lich
to
King,
me.
and Arthas is the Lich King, being the big bad guy and doing big bad stuff, like making more Death Knights and having a Scourge.
That's right, he made me.
Azeroth. Not much rich story to delve into here without being excruciatingly thorough. Flash forward to the end of the expansion, and as we all know, the Lich King would ultimately be defeated by the player characters atop the Ice-Crowned Citadel.
Yeah, his biggest mistake and his downfall was his monologue. He should not have been monologuing. He monologued too much, and the Ashbringer, was able to be freed from the ice, and Frostmourne broke and all that shit.
Of Arthas Menethil, Warcraft's most iconic character.
He beat us. He was going to raise us as his own Death Knights. That's what he was doing.
And then Bolvar puts on the helmet because apparently there must always be a Lich King in order to keep the Scourge under control.
Yeah.
Yeah, that lore kind of just comes in at the last minute.
Yeah.
And that's the end of the video. Okay.
There must always be a Lich King, and now there's the Crown of Wills, and we're not sure what's going on with the Scourge anymore. But fuck me, right?
You can leave now. Bye.
Oh, jeez. What's going on? Oh, no.
If you want to walk away from this video understanding an iconic Warcraft story that ends in a reasonable and relatively satisfying manner,
yeah, it's great. Click
off this video now. But if you want to understand...
No. Imagine a story writer piggybacking off of the greatest story they ever wrote and completely destroying it to try to make a new story. Enter Shadowlands. This is depressing.
And how the Shadowlands expansion recontextualized and continued Arthas' story into something almost unanimously hated by the community. Prepare yourself. Okay, so there's this being older than reality itself.
I can't even look at the screen.
His name is Zoval, also known as the Jailer, and he was created from these beings called the Eternal Ones. You know the Titans, right?
First ones, yeah.
Okay, so the Eternal Ones are like the Titans, but they shaped all the realms of reality and are bigger and better in every single way. Okay, back to the Jailer. He thought the universe was flawed because everyone's lives were decided by fate, not free will. So he wanted to remake reality. The first ones didn't like that, so they sent him to the Maw, which is Warcraft's Hell. And from Hell, he realized in order to remake reality, he would need the World Soul of Azeroth. In order to claim his prize, he created Frostmourne and the Helm of Domination. You know the Dreadlords, right? Well, they actually worked for him. They were double agents that worked with the Legion, but it was just a means to an end to progress their master's plan. The Dreadlords made Ice-Crowned Citadel, which had a secret purpose of channeling Azeroth's...
It's like everything that was great, it got ruined. It's so...
life force. The Dreadlords also influenced countless other events in the Warcraft universe, pulling the threads of fate and manipulating many events for a villain that was just introduced to the story and is incredibly vague and boring. Okay, fast forward and Arthas is now the Lich King. Now it's stated that some of Arthas' actions were influenced by the Jailer, but for the most part his will was his own. He ultimately doesn't do what the jailer wants and dies at the end of the Ice Crown Citadel raid. Okay, you know Uther? Well, after he died,
you gotta remember, they didn't just fuck up Arthas here. They fucked up Uther. Like I was saying earlier, man, they really pussified his character.
Turned into an angel that is tasked with judging all souls who die and deciding which afterlife they are sent to. Uther goes against the angel rules, and when Arthas dies, Uther throws him into the maw. Flash forward to Shadowlands, and King Anduin Wrynn of Stormwind gets captured. The jailer takes his father's weapon called Charlemagne and uses a crystal containing Arthas' soul to make Kingsmorn, which is like Frostmourne, but stronger.
Yeah, okay. Fucking stupid.
Kingsmorn is then used to dominate Anduin, and he becomes a servant of the jailer. The jailer's master plan has almost come to fruition as he collects the
assemble the Infinity Stones.
4 sigils from each realm of the Shadowlands, aka the Infinity Stones, and opens up a portal to the sepulcher of the First Ones to remake all of reality. In order to stop him, we transform the shards of the Helm of Domination into a new helm called the Crown of Wills, which looks like...
Oh, man, it's so bad. It's so bad. I can't believe it. Like, going back through this, it's so bad. I'm re-experiencing trauma. I'm re-experiencing trauma. What the fuck is this? What is on the screen? Imagine they put this on the store. I guarantee you nobody would fucking buy it. I have the Helm of Domination. Well, I had it. It's so bad. Crown of Wills. The fuck on the art? What was the art team thinking? The story's bad enough, but what was the art team thinking with this shit?
We venture into the sepulcher of the First One's raid, and Anduin ultimately resists the domination magic.
Probably the hardest boss fight ever.
Two ghost dads nod at him in approval, and he rips the sword apart. And the last remnants of Arthas' soul fades out of existence.
Fucking wisp.
Be gone then, Arthas Menethil. May the last whisper of your name fade and be forgotten.
Imagine you created one of the coolest characters in fantasy, and that's what happens. They just tell you, I hope you're forgotten, bro. I hope you're forgotten. Best writing, yeah. Wish the writer's strike would have happened sooner.
After Shadowlands, the conclusion of Warcraft's most recognizable villain.
Holy shit, this is a badass fucking
with a climactic finish
animation here.
But with a whimper, leaving a scar not only on one of the most iconic characters, but the entire Warcraft universe in general. And the only way to cope with this is to plug your ears, go la 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 la, and pretend all of that Shadowlands stuff just doesn't even exist in the first place.
That's what I do. His hair looked like noodles. Oh, that was a great video. I was in such a great mood, and then the end happened. My God. The unshakable damage that Shadowlands did. I don't know if it could ever be undone. It was that bad. But we push on. We say shadow what? We forget that it ever happened. That's the only way to cope with it. It is our coping mechanism, and it is what we must do.